Chapter 1. God Valley, Whitebeard, and Marco. What the hell? Is this fate? I risked my life to steal this, and now I have to give it to someone else. Roy's head was bleeding as he clutched a box in one arm and dragged a child with the other. Little pineapple head, this was supposed to be yours, but it fell into my hands. I'm saving your life today, so you better protect me in the future. Roy pulled the child into a corner, muttering to himself, completely unaware that the wall he was hiding against was actually a man leaning there. His muttering caught the man's attention, and when the man turned to glance at him, he was stunned by what he saw. Roy opened the box and pulled out a blue fruit. Without hesitation, he pried open the pineapple-headed child's mouth and shoved the fruit inside. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the mythical zone-type bird fruit, model, Phoenix. You're so badly injured right now, and the only thing that can save your life is this fruit. Roy leaned against the wall, panting heavily. He was exhausted. He had never imagined that he would transmigrate into the world of One Piece, and worse yet, become a slave, dragged to God Valley by the celestial dragons to participate in their once every 3 years hunting game. Had it been in previous years, he would have surely died. But luckily, he spotted Ginny, Ivankov, and Kuma. Once he saw them, he stuck with them. During the recent chaos, Ivankov and the others stole 2 devil fruits, drawing most of the attention. Roy seized the chance to grab one for himself and was naturally hunted down. After barely escaping, he stumbled upon a severely wounded child. In his previous life, Roy had been a doctor. Seeing the child's injuries, he couldn't bear to leave him behind and took him along. Looking at the kid's hair and then at the devil fruit in his hand, Roy realized fate had already decided. The phoenix fruit was destined to be eaten by little pineapple head. I might die again, huh? Hey, then so be it. As long as you live. Roy accepted the idea of death calmly. In his past life, he died from overwork. When he realized he was about to die, he had felt relief. He didn't even cry for help and simply accepted it. Maybe saving another life with his own was just his fate, so be it. After eating the phoenix fruit, blue flames erupted from Marco's body. His wounds healed rapidly, though the blood loss kept him unconscious for a while longer. I need to figure out a way to get you onto a pirate ship and let them take you. Best if it's Whitebeard, he should be on this island. Roy muttered to himself as he hoisted Marco onto his back, ready to move, only to look up and lock eyes with a man whose fists were the size of his head. Roy's breath hitched, his heart pounding, adrenaline surging through his veins. Kid, you're looking for me. You're Whitebeard. Roy stared at the man. There was no mistaking that crescent-shaped mustache. You're hurt. Roy noticed blood trickling from Whitebeard's mouth. Just a scratch. Whitebeard frowned. Injuries need treatment. Without thinking, Roy tore off part of his shirt and pressed it against the wound. Whitebeard watched as Roy tended to him, only slightly wincing. Why save him? If you'd eaten that fruit, you could have escaped. What if I told you I wasn't planning on surviving? Roy laughed bitterly. Lost your purpose? Something like that. Then join my crew. The Rocks Pirates are finished. I'm starting my own. Sail with me. Join you. Let's focus on getting out alive first. Gururara, get on. I'll take you both out of here. Whitebeard grabbed Roy and Marco just as the celestial dragon's god's knights closed in. With one hand holding them and the other gripping his supreme-grade blade, Murakumogiri, Whitebeard charged forward. God Valley was in chaos, celestial dragons, marines, and pirates locked in a 3-way slaughter. Though Whitebeard was already powerful at this time, he still sustained some injuries, a testament to the strength of the celestial dragon's side. Not only was the god's knight present, but even the 5 elders were here. Though only Saturn was physically present, Imu's power had somehow brought the other 4 elders to the island. If it were just the god's knight and Garp, they wouldn't have stood a chance against both the Roger Pirates and the entire Rocks crew. Had the 2 pirate crews not turned on each other, the outcome might have been different. But the Rocks Pirates were never united, each member had their own agenda. Once they got what they wanted, they betrayed Zebek. Whitebeard had been one of the few who stayed loyal, holding off Figureland Garling. But with the tide turning, he had to retreat quickly. Now, the Rocks Pirates were in full retreat. Whitebeard commandeered a marine warship, cutting the anchor chain and setting sail with Roy and Marco. Cough. Whitebeard spat blood, and Roy rushed into the cabin for medical supplies. When he returned, he immediately began treating Whitebeard's wounds. Relax. If you keep tensing your hockey, I can't stitch you up. Roy struggled to pierce Whitebeard's skin with the needle. Don't bother. Just bandage it. Why? This'll leave a massive scar. Scars are a man's shame. I'll keep this one to remind myself to grow stronger. That's bullsh. Oh, hey, Pineapple Head, you're awake. Roy noticed Marco stirring. Thank you for saving me. Marco remembered Roy carrying him to safety and feeding him something that healed him. Come here. Marco obediently approached. Can you use your power yet? You mean this? Marco's body suddenly transformed into a blue flaming bird. Whitebeard instinctively stepped back, wary of the unknown ability. Don't worry. He ate the mythical zone phoenix fruit. The flames don't burn. Roy reached out, touching the fire harmlessly. Then what's his ability? Healing. Hey, Pineapple Head, use your flames on his wound. 1 comments 0 vote. Chapter 2. The check-in system, 10-year reward. This is amazing, Whitebeard said in surprise. The Phoenix's flames are called Flame of Rebirth. They can heal wounds, but don't rely on them too much. It loses its effect if overused, and it'll drain your body's potential life force. The more you use it, the faster you'll age, Roy explained. Garararara, what's the point of living too long? Dying while you're still strong is the best ending. Losing your mind and rotting away in bed. That's the real tragedy, Whitebeard laughed. Roy stared at him, dumbfounded, then suddenly understood. Yeah, who would want to live so long they became a senile old fool? A man like Whitebeard would never allow himself to waste away, reminiscing about the past in some sickbed. He'd want to go out in a blaze of glory. The Summit War was his grand finale, a glorious funeral prepared just for him. I understand now. Thank you, Roy said, bowing to Whitebeard. Marco was already weak, and after using his power to heal Whitebeard, he was even more exhausted. Roy still had some energy, so he scavenged for food. The three of them feasted. You two should just become my sons, Whitebeard said. No way, really. 2 completely different responses. Marco was first shocked, then overjoyed. Roy, on the other hand, rejected without hesitation. He had never thought about being someone's son. Why the hell not? Whitebeard mumbled through a mouthful of food. I don't do the whole, dad, thing, Roy said flatly. But I want a family. And that means forcing people to be your kids. Roy raised an eyebrow. You're both still brats. Perfect age for it. I'm older than you. Roy deadpanned. What? X2. Whitebeard and Marco were stunned, jaws practically dropping to the floor as they stared at Roy. I'm already over 40 this year, Roy said. Bullshit. Who the hell are you trying to fool? Whitebeard scoffed. Yeah, no way you're that old. Marco shook his head. I'm just like you guys. I ate a devil fruit, which is why I look like this. Otherwise, I'd have eaten the phoenix fruit myself, wouldn't have left it for you, Roy said. He was lying, of course. He didn't have any devil fruit ability at all. Seriously, Marco blinked. Ha, so you're even older than me. No wonder you talk like some grumpy old man, Whitebeard annoyingly grumbled. Who would have thought Roy was older than him? If you want a son, little Pineapple Head suits you. I don't, Roy replied. Doesn't matter. From now on, you're both my family, Whitebeard declared, leaving no room for argument. Whitebeard was 36 years old. Roy was actually 9. Marco was only 7. And so, a 36-year-old man and 2 kids under 10 officially formed their pirate crew. The stolen marine warship drifted across the West Blue. They didn't have a destination. Whitebeard understood navigation well. He had sailed solo from a young age. Born in Sphinx, a town in the Grand Line, he had spent years ruling the New World. His sailing skills were solid. Eventually, Whitebeard and Marco dozed off, exhausted. The flame of rebirth still had an effect on Whitebeard. It had drained his potential life force. Just like how Luffy's Gear Second consumes his lifespan, Whitebeard, too, would have a shorter life. Although he replenished some energy with food, it wasn't enough to make up for his lost vitality. Fortunately, Roy was a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. Tonics were his specialty. Since the other 2 were asleep, Roy naturally took the night watch. He could still hold out and just needed to align the ship with the compass direction. As long as they stayed on course, they would eventually find land. Ha! Roy yawned, sleepiness creeping in. He forced himself to stay awake, gripping the ship's wheel. The sea was cold and often foggy. It wasn't as glamorous as it looked. Most pirate ships were filthy, cramped, and reeked of sweat. Only the elite few had clean decks and fresh laundry. As Roy looked ahead, a sudden sound rang in his ears. Ding! Sign-in successful. Congratulations, you survived one day and have earned 1 gold coin as a reward. What the heck? Roy was startled. He thought he was hearing things, maybe dreaming. But then he felt something in his hand. He looked down at a shiny, golden coin. He bit it. It left a tooth mark. It was real gold. The coin weighed about 100 grams, nice and heavy. Don't tell me I transmigrated into this world and brought a system like in those novels. Roy thought. A golden finger. He actually had the legendary golden finger. 1 coin per day just for surviving. Nothing else. Roy asked aloud. Sign in for 10 years to receive a special reward. 10 years. That long. What do I get? But no more voice came. Roy tried several times with no response. Studying the coin in his hand, Roy's sleepiness faded. The sky was beginning to brighten. Roy headed inside to wake Whitebeard. Newgate, wake up, Roy called several times, but Whitebeard didn't stir. Of course he's a heavy sleeper. Still, Whitebeard had a habit, his vigilance remained high even when sleeping. Years of survival had honed his observation hockey to react to threats unconsciously. Ace had tried to ambush him many times but never succeeded. Only when Whitebeard got older and his reaction time dulled did Squard finally succeed. At the time, Marco was shocked and realized just how old Whitebeard had become. Otherwise, there's no way he wouldn't have reacted. Roy found a marine sword and threw it at Whitebeard. As expected, Whitebeard sprang up instantly and smashed the sword into pieces with a punch. The resulting shockwave blasted a huge hole in the warship. Roy, what are you doing? Whitebeard roared, furious. You wouldn't wake up. Look at the time, either take the helm or make breakfast. Roy shouted, recovering from the shock. Whitebeard realized Roy wasn't trying to kill him, he just couldn't wake him up any other way. I'll take the helm, I'll cook. They split duties. Roy prepared a huge pot of porridge. The warship had enough supplies, originally meant for hundreds, even thousands of Marines. Even a week's worth of ration could last them a month. Why not a year? Because with a giant like Whitebeard at 666 centimeters tall, you can bet his appetite was no joke. Breakfast was ready, and Roy also woke Marco. Then he finally went to bed, leaving the two of them to take over. 1 comments 0 vote. Chapter 3. The Black Market, Become My Son. When Roy woke up, it was already dark. The two of them startled him. What are you doing? After rubbing his eyes, Roy realized they had already docked. But Whitebeard and Marco both looked sullen. What's wrong with you two? We're hungry, Marco said. You didn't cook anything, Roy asked. We don't know how. Newgate, you don't know either. Whitebeard scratched his head, looking embarrassed. I tried. So, where's the food? It got burnt. I see, so you two were just waiting for me to wake up. Marco nodded. Roy got up to cook. As they ate, the three discussed finding an island soon to recruit a chef. Their crew was too small, they needed more members. However, Whitebeard wasn't looking for crew members. What he wanted was family. After eating their fill, Roy took the night watch. He had been waiting for midnight. Sure enough, right at midnight, the voice sounded again. Ding, check-in successful. Congratulations on surviving another day. You have been rewarded with 1 gold coin. So, I do get 1 gold coin per day for checking in. Can I see the rewards for checking in after 10 years? Roy tried everything, but the system remained a mystery. For now, he'd have to settle for a daily gold coin, enough to keep him from starving. 4 days after leaving God Valley, they finally reached an island. They'd passed others along the way, but Whitebeard insisted on going farther. The world government might still be hunting down remnants of the Rocks Pirates. On the 3rd day, they saw the news in the papers. The Rocks Pirates had been wiped out. The world celebrated. Crowds cheered in the streets, rejoicing over the crew's destruction. Everything related to the Rocks Pirates was being erased from history. Meanwhile, Vice Admiral Garp, who had defeated Rocks, was hailed as the hero of the Marines. However, just when everyone thought Garp would be promoted to Admiral, he refused. He even had a conflict with Fleet Admiral Kong and was thrown into solitary confinement to cool off. Are we going ashore? Roy asked Whitebeard. Yeah, this ship's on its last legs anyway. We'll sell off what we can and get a new one. Alright, but most of it is weapons and military supplies. You'll have to sell it on the black market, Roy said. You know about the black market? Whitebeard raised an eyebrow. I told you I'm older than you. You still don't believe me. Now I do, but I don't know if this island has one. Whitebeard took his naginata and got off the ship. This island had a city, and the streets were bustling. His massive figure walking down the street was extremely imposing. Many people recognized him. That's Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. From the Rocks Pirates. No way, the Rocks Pirates were wiped out. How is he not in marine custody? Are you going to do it? Hell no, no reward's worth it. Let's not mess with him. I heard he could destroy an island with ease. He's alone, what's there to be afraid of? His bounty is over 1 billion belly. If we take him down, we'll live easy forever. Leave me out of it, you do it yourself. Whitebeard was far too eye-catching, and sure enough, some fools tried to attack him. The result was obvious, normal people couldn't take even one punch from Whitebeard. Whitebeard found his target on the street and pushed open the door. Welcome to. It was a tavern. The bartender looked up and greeted the guest, but stopped halfway through when he saw who it was. His expression changed to serious and solemn. There's a warship outside, no anchor, but otherwise 80% new. Whitebeard said. We don't take warships, the owner replied, shaking his head. It has cannons, ammo, and guns. How much? A lot. I'll send people tonight to transport it. I need a new ship. What size? Not too big. Medium will do. I'll leave the food on the warship. No problem. I just want the weapons. The two made a deal, no contracts, no paperwork, just a verbal agreement. That was the black market's rule. Reputation was everything. With pirates, written deals meant nothing. Whitebeard turned to leave but suddenly stopped and asked, got any kids here? Slaves. We don't deal in that. Orphans. Any on this island? Orphans, maybe. Not my business. Give me a barrel of wine. Whitebeard left, hauling the barrel back to the ship. Good. The warship's too big for us anyway. It was just the three of them now. With no anchor, there was no way they could control a warship. The sea was unpredictable. Fewer hands meant more danger. Even Whitebeard couldn't handle everything alone. Where's Marco? He went to buy some books. You let him go alone. Relax. He has the phoenix fruit, it's like a logia. He can turn into elements. Unless he runs into someone who can use hockey, he'll be fine, Roy said. You seem to know everything, Whitebeard commented. I know more than you do. I even know how you die, Roy said. What if I told you I'm from the future? That's why I said I'm 40, just stuck in a kid's body now. From the future, Whitebeard's eyes widened. You know what's coming? Yeah, wanna hear? Nope. Ha ha ha, just like I thought. You're the real deal, Newgate. Just like Luffy, he chose not to ask. When Usopp asked Rayleigh about Laugh Tale, Luffy interrupted him with a loud shout. Whitebeard believed him, but he didn't ask. Some secrets were better left unknown. TCH, even if you're from the future, then right now, you're still 9. Whitebeard suddenly grinned. Technically, yeah, so, become my son. Screw off. Garararara. Whitebeard's laughter boomed across the ship, louder, freer than ever before. Back in the Rocks Pirates, he not only had to deal with a tyrannical captain, but also with the constant scheming of crewmates. He had to be on guard every day against sneak attacks from those bastards. It had been a long time since he'd truly smiled. But with Roy and Marco, he felt no pressure. In fact, he thought it was fun. It felt like family. Marco's taking a while. Night had fallen completely. The underworld merchant had already sent people to transport the weapons and had delivered a new ship, about the size of the Swan Sunny. They'd even modified a room to make it big enough for Whitebeard. But Marco still hadn't come back. Roy was starting to get worried. Newgate, Marco's not back yet. 0 comments 0 vote. Download the app for greater interaction. You can chat with me about my writing experience apart from the comments section. Daoist_Jinzu. Download app now. Chapter 4. Jozu, Thatch, Vista. Yeah, why isn't he back yet? Whitebeard had also noticed something was wrong. It was already dark, and knowing Marco's personality, he should have returned by now. He'd just gone out to buy books, Yet hours had passed, and the shops on the island were about to close. Wait, we didn't have any money. Where'd you get the money to give Marco? Here. Roy took out a gold coin and flicked it toward Whitebeard. Whitebeard caught it and was surprised when he saw it. You actually have gold coins. Yeah, I gave Marco one. You gave him a whole gold coin. Yeah, why? What's the problem? That brat walking around with a gold coin, he probably got targeted. Whitebeard grabbed Roy and leapt off the ship. Roy hadn't yet processed what was happening, but quickly realized something must have gone wrong. If Marco revealed he had a gold coin, even if he was a devil fruit user, he was still just a 7-year-old kid and couldn't defend himself well. He'd been gone too long. Something definitely happened. Roy wasn't overly worried for Marco's safety because of his devil fruit powers, but he was concerned he might have been kidnapped. Whitebeard, anxious, carried Roy through the island, using his observation hockey to search. Under its sweeping presence, he quickly located Marco. And he wasn't alone. At that moment, Marco was fighting alongside 3 other scrappy kids against a group of adults. The 3 kids looked about the same age as Marco and were just as dirty. They were surrounded by grown men with all kinds of hair colors and weapons. Despite being kids, Marco and his group had knocked out a few of them, but the rest were still overwhelming. After all, they were just children. Things weren't looking good. Even though Marco had the Phoenix Devil Fruit, his flames weren't offensive, and using his power constantly drained his stamina. Just as they were about to be caught, the men suddenly felt a gust of wind behind them, and then darkness loomed over them. Sensing the overwhelming presence behind them, they froze and slowly turned their heads. What they saw were Whitebeard's cold eyes like an abyss, and their hearts skipped a beat. How dare you touch my family? Whitebeard raised his massive naginata, Murakumogiri. No. Before they could beg for mercy, he struck. Get down, Roy yelled to Marco and the others. All 4 kids hit the ground instantly. Whoosh, the swing of Whitebeard's blade sent blood flying. He wasn't holding back, he even cleaved a nearby building in 2. On his shoulder, Roy felt the intense impact, and he clung to Whitebeard's hair. Then, the island quaked. Whitebeard's power was terrifying. Those who'd never experienced his earthquakes couldn't fathom the sheer terror. The ground heaved. Buildings swayed like they were made of paper. Fortunately, the earthquake wasn't strong enough to cause widespread damage, and most buildings were intact. Other than Marco, the 3 other kids were frozen in place, staring blankly at what had just happened. Roy tugged Whitebeard's ear and shouted, "Can't you hold back a bit?" That was like using a cannon to swat a fly. Why not just use Conqueror's hockey? You almost killed Marco and the rest. Whitebeard blinked, realizing he'd overreacted. But that was just how he was. With only 2 people he considered family, Roy and Marco, how could he not panic when one of them was in danger? Roy understood, but it was equal parts touching and infuriating. The man was too reckless. Marco, what happened? Weren't you just out buying books? Roy jumped down from Whitebeard's shoulder, checking Marco for injuries. None. But when he got a closer look at the 3 other kids, Roy was stunned. Even though they were young, he immediately recognized them. Jozu, Thatch, Vista, future 3rd Division Commander Jozu, 4th Division Commander Thatch, 5th Division Commander Vista. Among the 3, Jozu was the biggest. Thatch was the oldest, then Vista. He stole my gold coin. Marco pointed at Thatch. I was too scared to come back empty-handed, so I chased them. Then they said someone else stole it, and they'd help me get it back. Thatch, slightly taller than Roy, scratched his head sheepishly. Who has the coin now? Roy asked. Him. Thatch pointed at one of the corpses. Roy retrieved the coin. By now, people were gathering. Whitebeard growled, "We're leaving." Right. They followed Whitebeard as he strode away. Behind them, the 3 kids huddled. Thatch, what do we do now? Asked 4-year-old Jozu, who, despite his age, had come out brawling with Thatch. He was huge, nearly Thatch's size. Vista, you okay? Thatch noticed Vista staring after Whitebeard's group leaving. He's so strong, Vista murmured, awestruck. Yeah, no kidding. Let's get out of here. But Vista didn't move. Thatch, I want to follow him. Why? I don't know. Just now, he protected the pineapple-haired guy, even killed for him. If we joined him, wouldn't he protect us too? Thatch was stunned. The 3 of them were orphans. Thatch had worked in a kitchen but was kicked out after stealing food for Jozu. Then he met the wandering Vista, and the three of them became a little band of thieves. Marco, flashing a gold coin, caught Thatch's attention. But after stealing it, Thatch was targeted by another gang and robbed. Not wanting to let it go, Thatch brought the others to ambush the gang, just in time to meet Marco again. They joined forces, leading to the earlier brawl. Now, after seeing Whitebeard's overwhelming strength, Vista's heart wavered. "Vista, are you serious?" Thatch asked. "Yeah, I mean it. I want to follow him." Vista nodded firmly. "Jozu, what about you?" Thatch asked. "Hungry," Jozu replied, chewing his finger. "Then let's go. He has 2 kids with him, he must like kids, maybe he can also take us in." Thatch made up his mind. With Jozu and Vista, he chased after Roy and the others along the path they left. They finally caught up at the dock. "What do you want?" Marco glared, still pissed about the stolen coin. Thatch stepped forward. "We want to join you. Please take us in." "I don't take subordinates," Whitebeard said flatly. Vista's face fell. Jozu's stomach growled. Thatch lowered his head. Then, a massive hand stretched toward them. They looked up. Whitebeard grinned. "But would you like to be my sons?" 2 comments 0 vote. Chapter 5. Changing ships, heading to Water 7. Garararara. "Roy, it's time for us to change ships." "Yeah, we really should. This one can't hold us anymore." "Then, no money." "Don't be like that, I know you have money." "None of your business. Your money is my money, and my money is everyone's money." "Stop talking nonsense. Be realistic." Unknowingly, in the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. Whitebeard was now 41 years old, and Roy was 14. From a pirate crew of just 3, they had grown to 6, then 10, and eventually more and more, except all of them were still kids. The oldest, Thatch, had just turned 15. The youngest, Jozu, was now 9. Though Roy was only 14, he was the leader of these kids. If Whitebeard was the father, then Roy was the mother, taking care of these brats while also making sure they studied. Marco, Jozu, Thatch, Vista, Whitey Bay, Blamenco, Rikuyo, these names that would one day shake the seas were now just a bunch of rowdy children. The crew had expanded to over 40 members, and they had finally entered the Grand Line from the West Blue. After 5 years of sailing at sea, their ship was on its last legs, no longer sufficient. It was time for a new one. Though it was bittersweet, they had outgrown this old vessel, a second-hand ship they had traded for with marine weapons. "Pops is borrowing money from Big Bro again," Jozu whispered as he and Marco hid nearby, watching Roy and Whitebeard argue. "Pops always borrows from Big Bro. How much do you think he'll get this time?" Vista grinned. 1 gold coin, Epoida guessed. 2, Rikuyo countered with a laugh. "You're all wrong. This time, Pops is gonna take all of Big Bro's treasure stash," Marco said slyly. "You serious?" Thatch gasped. "Dead serious. Our ship is 5 years old, and it was already used when we got it. Pops has wanted a new one for ages, but we never had the money. Big Bro's the only one with savings, Pops is gonna make him cough it up." Marco explained. "We're finally getting a bigger ship. I've had enough of being crammed in with you guys." Whitey Bay huffed, hands on her hips. "Big Bro spoils you the most. Why don't you go convince him to take out the money?" Marco teased. "No way, Pops can handle it himself," Whitey Bay shot back. "Do you think Pops will actually succeed in getting us a new ship this time?" Vista asked. "Probably," Thatch chuckled. "Why?" "Because Big Bro's been planning to change ships for a while now. He's just been saving up." "Wait, how do you know that?" Marco and the others gasped. "After we looted that merchant ship last time, Big Bro wanted to get a new ship. Too bad you guys wrecked that one. He even asked where it was built. Honestly, Pops didn't even need to bring it up. Big Bro already had it in mind," Thatch said. "So Pops is wasting his effort." The others burst out laughing. Sure enough, Roy took advantage of Whitebeard's desperation, forcing him to agree to a series of unfair conditions before finally handing over his savings. "Jozu, go get the chest from my room." Roy turned and called out to the peeking Jozu. "Got it, Big Bro." Jozu dashed into the cabin. Crack. His heavy footsteps shattered a rotting plank in the deck and broke a huge hole. The wooden ship had deteriorated badly. Jozu wasn't the only one growing bigger. Whitebeard, Atmos, all of them were massive, putting immense strain on the old vessel. Jozu, already used to it, pulled his foot out and continued inside. After a moment, he came back carrying a metal box. Roy had forged this chest 4 years ago, and it was secured with a heavy lock. Everyone knew it was Roy's treasure chest. Although his combat power was the weakest in the group, even weaker than Whitebeard, he had a special ability. He received 1 small gold coin every day. According to Roy, it was the power of his devil fruit. Just how much was inside? They had always been curious. Roy pulled out a key and unlocked the chest. A blinding golden light shone from inside. So much money. Marco and the others gasped. Let me count it. Roy tallied them up. There were exactly 1,231 gold coins. Assuming each coin weighed 100 grams, that would be 123,100 grams of gold. At 5,000 berries per gram of gold, that was 615.5 million berries. No one expected Roy to have that kind of money. Even Whitebeard gasped. You really had that much? Big bro, give me some money. Whitebeard clung to Roy's arm and pouted. Get off. Roy placed a hand on her face and pushed her away, but she clung even tighter. Fine, here's one. Roy finally caved, handing her a single coin. She was the only little sister in the crew, after all. Thank you, big bro. Whitebeard took it with both hands and gave Roy a kiss on the cheek. Roy wiped off the slobber as Marco and the others stared with puppy dog eyes. None for you guys. Even if I gave you money, it'd be wasted. I've already looked into ship prices. A brand new vessel capable of carrying us across the world costs at least 300 million berries. Given how fast Newgate recruits, we'll need a big one, massive. The estimated cost is 500 million berries. The remaining 115 million will go toward supplies, Roy explained. Roy had planned this long ago. He'd been saving for this exact moment. In 5 years, he should have had 1,825 coins. But after deducting 594 coins spent on food, parties, damages, and other miscellaneous expenses, this was what remained. Without Roy, their lives would have been far harder. So where are we going now? Water 7. In the first half of the Grand Line, no one builds ships better than them. I've heard of it, but never been. Whitebeard nodded. I've already prepared. Roy pulled out an eternal pose. I bought a permanent log pose to Water 7 from the underworld. We can head straight there, Roy said. So you really had everything planned, Whitebeard said, impressed. If we left it to you, we'd never get a new ship, Roy snorted. Garararara, that's why I can relax with you around. Whitebeard stood up, grinning. Alright, brats, set sail, we're heading to Water 7. Yeah, the crew erupted in cheers. Big bro, let's have a party. No money, but we still have 115 million berries left. That's my money, you bastards. Newgate, teach them a lesson for trying to steal. No, Pops, it was Marco Who stole it. You traitor, Thatch. Pops, it was all his idea. 2 comments 0 vote. Chapter 6. Admiral Sengoku. Hey, did you guys hear? Newgate has appeared on the Grand Line. On an unnamed island in the New World, a group of men relaxed by the shore. Their leader, a man with a wide grin, burst into laughter. Yeah, I heard. He's got a bunch of kids with him, replied a handsome middle-aged man with golden hair, smirking. Newgate's dream is to have a family. I heard those kids are his family. Galilolo, he's become a dad. Roger's laughter boomed across the beach. Everyone sails out to sea for their dreams. Newgate's dream just happens to be different, Rayleigh mused. Former members of the Rocks Pirates are already making waves across the sea again. Ha ha ha, I can't wait to meet him again. I wanna see what his family is like. Roger grinned. What's so interesting about a bunch of brats? Scopper Gabon shook his head. Still, I'm looking forward to it. News spread across the world that the Whitebeard Pirates had appeared in Water 7, causing a commotion and clashing with the Marines. At the same time, in Water 7, Roy was furiously scolding Whitebeard and the others. I told you guys already, the Marine HQ is close to here. We were supposed to lay low until the ship was ready, and you've gone and caused trouble everywhere. Now the Marines are on our tails. Roy roared at Whitebeard and his crew. Despite being the smallest in the group, Roy's authority was absolute. The others, even Whitebeard, stood with their heads bowed like scolded children. A month earlier, they had arrived in Water 7. Roy had sought out Tom and commissioned a massive new ship with their 500 million berry budget. Tom accepted the job, designing the Moby Dick according to Whitebeard's vision. With only Tom working on it, it would take a month to complete. Roy had them stay on the island, but word soon spread about special nearby islands, like the gourmet capital and St. Poplar Island, so Whitebeard took the kids to explore. But somehow, they ended up clashing with the Marines, defeating a vice admiral, and then Admiral Sengoku showed up, leading to a battle. Whitebeard and the others were forced to retreat, fleeing back to Water 7. What do we do now? The Marines have the island surrounded, Marco muttered. Wait here, I'll negotiate with Marines, Roy said coldly. Negotiate? With the Marines? How? Whitebeard frowned. By using the lives of everyone in Water 7 as leverage. What? Whitebeard's eyes widened. Relax. It's just a bluff. The ship will be ready tonight, we leave then. Really? It's done. Whitebeard perked up. You're such a hands-off captain. Can you show a little more concern? Roy scolded him loudly. No one else would dare treat the legendary pirate like this, but Roy had always been the exception. Wait here, I'm going to negotiate with the Marines. Roy took a deep breath and marched toward the docks, Whitebeard following behind. At this moment, the Marines had completely surrounded Water 7. More and more warships were arriving as time passed. At the helm stood Admiral Sengoku from Marine HQ. Admiral, Whitebeard has come out, a Marine soldier who was watching the dock shouted back to Sengoku. Sengoku, his afro unmistakable, stood and strode to the front artillery deck. Even without binoculars, he could see Whitebeard, and the small figure at his feet. Sengoku, Whitebeard's voice boomed across the water. Newgate, Sengoku replied, watching him carefully, always on guard. Bring the ship closer. The marine vessel advanced, stopping a few dozen meters from shore. Let us leave, Sengoku. Not a chance, Sengoku replied firmly. Do you really want to see all of Water 7 sink into the ocean? Whitebeard warned. Sengoku's expression darkened. What are you implying? You know my power. If you're determined to keep me here, I won't back down. Think about it, how many people will have to die just to keep me here? At the very least, Water 7 will be buried underwater. The Marines will also pay a heavy price. Think carefully, Sengoku, said Whitebeard. Are you threatening me, Newgate? Sengoku gritted his teeth. This isn't a threat, it's a negotiation. I haven't caused any real destruction. As long as the Marines stand down, I won't retaliate, said Whitebeard. You're a pirate, it's the Marines' duty to capture you. Sengoku insisted. Then tell me, what will it cost you to take me down? Just you, alone, Whitebeard retorted. Sengoku's face twisted. Admiral Zephyr was on leave, visiting his son. And Garp had rushed to the New World after hearing rumors of Roger's reappearance there. Fleet Admiral Kong was occupied at HQ. Sengoku was the only top-tier marine combatant here. And he knew, after their last clash earlier, that he couldn't defeat Whitebeard alone. Not without catastrophic collateral damage. You know you can't stop me, Sengoku. I'll leave for the New World today. You know I don't attack civilians or Marines unprovoked. Sengoku gritted his teeth. He did know Sengoku had fought Whitebeard for years. Whitebeard wasn't like other pirates. But that didn't mean he was willing to just let Whitebeard go. However, the Marines' current forces weren't enough. Sengoku knew he couldn't take down Whitebeard alone. Worse yet, Whitebeard had grown even stronger. If they really went all out, Water 7 might not just be sunk, the entire surrounding sea could be devastated. Even the nearby Enies lobby would be hit by a tsunami. Boom, boom, boom. While Sengoku was hesitating, a nearby warship, no one knew when it had arrived, suddenly fired its cannons. 3 cannonballs roared through the air, heading straight for Whitebeard and Roy. WHO fired. Sengoku roared angrily. Whitebeard's eyes narrowed. He raised a fist. Crack, and shattered the air itself. The shockwave obliterated the cannonballs mid-flight and kept going, hurtling toward the offending marine ship. Sengoku saw who was on that ship, a vice admiral aligned with the world government, someone he didn't get along with. As the shockwave slammed into the ship, Sengoku did nothing. He just watched coldly. That vice admiral arrogantly drew his blade to resist the shockwave. Boom, but his strength was no match for Whitebeard's. He and the entire warship beneath him were shattered by the quake. Idiot. Did he really think he could face that kind of attack? Sengoku scoffed. But when he turned back, Whitebeard was already gone. TCH. I don't believe you won't show yourself again. Surround the island. 1 comments 0 vote. Chapter 7. Whitebeard's Teachings. Your plan didn't work, Whitebeard grunted as he ran, his massive naginata slung over his shoulder. I know, Roy replied, running alongside him. Then what now? If this keeps up, we won't be able to handle the Marines. If Garp and Zephyr show up, we won't even be able to escape. It's fine, the ship will be ready today, and besides, the Aqua Lagona is coming. The what now? A massive storm capable of unleashing a giant tsunami. Haven't you noticed how empty the island is? Now that you mention it, it's a lot emptier than before. Where did everyone go? They evacuated. The tsunami's coming. They've already fled to other islands. You're sure the tsunami is hitting tonight? Yeah, it comes like clockwork every year. Most of the island will be submerged. The Marines will either have to land or retreat. They arrived back at the shipyard, where Tom and his mermaid secretary, Kokura, were still hard at work. Mr. Tom, will the ship be ready today? Roy asked. I guarantee it'll be finished, Tom said with a grin. Will our ship be able to push through the Aqua Lagona tonight? You plan to ride through it? That won't be easy. Those waves are hundreds of meters tall. Even my ships can't handle that. But we're surrounded by the Marines. If we don't use the tsunami to break out, we'll be trapped here. Then wait. Once the Aqua Lagona comes, the Marines will retreat. They're not dumb enough to stick around and die. Once they're gone, you guys can set sail, and they won't be able to catch up. Guess that's our best option. Roy sighed. No sense taking unnecessary risks. Big bro, our ship's huge. Jozu said as he ran up. Thunk. Roy smacked him on the head. Why'd you hit me, big bro? Was this whole mess your fault? Roy snapped. They were bullying people. And what are we? Pirates. Are pirates good people? Yeah, WHO told you that. Pops did. Pirates are the bad guys. We are the bad guys. We're supposed to do bad things. The Marines are the ones who help people, not us. Roy smacked him again. WHAAAT. It wasn't just Jozu, several other kids around them looked shocked. Newgate, what the hell have you been teaching them? Since when are pirates the good guys? Roy roared at Whitebeard, who had been trying to sneak away. It was like Roy had been teaching his kids basic math, and then their uncle came in saying 1 + 1 = 3, totally throwing them off track. Garararara, I didn't think they'd believe it so easily. Whitebeard laughed. What? The kids clutched their heads in shock. Pops, how could you lie to us? So we're the bad guys. You said the Marines were evil. I'll never trust Pops again. Pops is the biggest bad guy. The group of kids swarmed around Whitebeard angrily, demanding answers after being tricked. Ha ha ha, you're all hilarious. Kokura came over, laughing uncontrollably after hearing everything. This had to be the strangest and funniest pirate crew, a giant adult man leading a bunch of kids, with the most mature one being, well, another kid. Roy was completely speechless. So all this Marine trouble was because of Whitebeard. At least Whitebeard would probably behave now. Marco, scout the sea. See if the Marines are retreating. Got it. Marco took to the skies. When he returned, he reported that most of the Marine ships had withdrawn, except one. A Marine battleship had docked. Sengoku was leading the troops ashore, while the other ships sailed away. It was clear Sengoku had been informed the island's civilians had evacuated, and he was determined to trap the Whitebeard Pirates here. He wasn't backing down. Pops, what do we do? Marco asked. Roy, what do you think? Whitebeard turned to him. What else can we do? We fight. Roy looked around at the others. Without hardship, how could they grow? They may have been young, but they were strong. The Marine landing force wasn't large. Whitebeard could draw their main firepower, it'd be enough. Wow, never thought I'd hear Big Bro say that, Thatch chuckled. Just don't die, alright? Roy said. Don't worry, Big Bro. We'll protect you, Jozu shouted, clenching his fists. Roy realized something. He really was weak. Despite training just as hard, he just couldn't match these guys. Whitebeard had bluntly told him he was painfully average. His only asset was his clever mind, managing the crew and keeping things running smoothly. He climbed to a vantage point with a rifle, watching Whitebeard lead a group of kids into battle against Sengoku and the Navy. If he joined close combat, he'd just be a liability. Better to act from a distance. Bang! He fired a shot at Sengoku, but the bullet bounced off. It did nothing, not even a scratch. Sengoku glanced at Roy, then ignored him entirely. Sengoku had entered his Buddha form, towering even taller than Whitebeard. Their battle shook the island with constant explosions. Because Sengoku was such a huge target, Roy tried shooting again. Still useless. Worth a shot, he started aiming at other marine soldiers instead. The battle raged on as the sky darkened. The sea churned, and waves were rising, the Aqua Lagona was coming. From his high point, Roy saw it a wall of water. The first wave was small, but the next ones were building, along with hurricane-force winds and heavy rain. Yeah, you really have to respect the ocean's wrath, Roy muttered, watching a tsunami hundreds of meters high. It looked like the end of the world. He remembered tsunamis in his past life, just a few dozen meters tall had almost erased entire cities. This one dwarfed them. Thankfully, Water 7's construction and drainage systems were sturdy enough to withstand the impact. As the tsunami approached, both sides had no choice but to stop fighting and retreat to higher ground. Whitebeard and Sengoku continued their battle as they moved, neither willing to back down. This world is insane, Roy whispered, watching these two giants clash like titans, shaking the earth with every clash. It was awe-inspiring. Aside from the incident at God Valley, this was the first time he'd seen Whitebeard actually struggle in a fight. Of course, the sea was vast, and many powerful foes were still out there. This was only the beginning, countless future battles awaited. It was hard to imagine what kind of being could actually leave a scar on Whitebeard. Roy, your ship's ready. Once the tsunami passes, you can leave. Tom came over with the news. Thanks, Tom, don't mention it. This money brings me one step closer to my dream. 1 comments 0 vote. Chapter 8, Injury, New Companion. Tom, what is your dream? Roy suddenly asked. I want to build a train that can run on the sea, just like a train on land, one that ignores the ocean's waves and flows smoothly, connecting all the islands around the world. Ha ha ha, Tom said, spreading his arms and laughing. That's an amazing dream, you'll definitely succeed. Blamenco, who had been learning from Tom, chimed in. Ha ha ha, isn't it grand? What about your dreams? Tom asked suddenly. Our dreams. Roy looked over at Whitebeard, who was still fighting, and then at Marco and the others. Being together as a family, that's our dream, Roy said, putting his arms around Blamenco and Marco. That's right, and to make Pops the Pirate King. Ha 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 ha, the kids cheered excitedly, scrambling aboard the Moby Dick and getting to work. 5 years of sailing had taught them discipline, each had their role, and they moved with practiced efficiency. Mr. Tom, how do we launch the ship? The ship was still in the dock, they had to get to the waterway below to be launched into the sea. But there was no towing equipment in sight. How could such a massive ship get down? Already taken care of, just wait for my signal. The Aqua Lagona's first wave has passed, the next one will carry you out. Tom grinned. Got it, Marco, go tell Newgate we're ready. Roy ordered. Leave it to me. Marco took to the skies, but almost immediately, he circled back, shouting. Big bro, Marines incoming. Don't let them get close. Mr. Tom, hide, don't expose yourself quickly. After Roy said that, he drew his sword and jumped off the ship with Jozu and Vista. Sure enough, the Marines had discovered their ship and realized they were about to set sail, so they moved in to intercept. Don't let the Whitebeard Pirates escape. The rear admiral barked. Stop them, protect the ship. Roy charged forward, fired a shot with his pistol, then rushed in with his sword drawn. Even though his strength was average, it didn't mean he lacked the courage to fight. In moments like this, sheer will and courage often decides the outcome. The two sides clashed. Roy faced a skilled Marine elite, the battle was fierce and evenly matched. The soldier was surprised, he didn't expect someone like Roy among the Whitebeard Pirates. What are you staring at? Seizing a split-second opening, Roy drew a pistol from his waist and fired point-blank into the Marine's chest. Losing the support of one hand, the Marine's sword broke through Roy's defense, slashing across Roy's chest. The Marine hadn't expected Roy to fight this way, both were injured and staggered back. Roy, clutching his bleeding chest, the Marine collapsing with a bullet wound. Roy forced himself up, blood pouring from his wound, staining his clothes red. But he still lunged at another Marine and continued fighting. Boom! Another massive wave crashed onto the island, the ground shook violently. This was the final wave, just like Tom said. "Marco, go get Newgate now," Roy shouted. Marco transformed into a phoenix, soaring toward the distant battlefield where golden flashes and tremors marked Whitebeard's duel with Sengoku. "You're not going anywhere," a Marine officer intercepted, slashing at Marco. Clang! Roy blocked the strike. The strength difference was clear. Roy was sent flying. "Go," he yelled. Marco shot past, leaving Roy sprawled on the ground. "Big bro," Jozu roared, plowing through Marines to reach Roy. Seeing the blood, his eyes burned with fury. "I'll kill you." Jozu barreled into the officer, his steel-gauntleted fist smashing the man into the ground. Not long after Marco left, the ground trembled violently again, followed by the heavy footsteps of Whitebeard rushing back with his naginata in hand. Roy. Seeing Roy on the ground, Whitebeard panicked. His grip on Murakumogiri tightened, the power of the tremor fruit focused at the blade, forming a transparent white shockwave. Quake blade. Whoosh. With one swing, all the Marines were blasted away by the shockwave. Whitebeard defeated them all in a single strike. Roy. Hang on. Marco. I'm not dead yet. Why are you panicking? Cough, cough. Roy was picked up by Jozu. Let's go, the tsunami is over, and our ship is ready. Get on board. Whitebeard looked around. Seeing Roy's state made him want to slaughter every last Marine. How dare they hurt his family? Enough, let's go. Roy grabbed Whitebeard's arm. Fine, set sail, Whitebeard shouted, raising his naginata. Everyone boarded the ship. Tom pulled the lever, detonating the wooden supports, and the ship tilted downward. Everyone held on tightly as the vessel angled to nearly 70 degrees. It looked like it was about to crash until it bounced up and was lifted by seawater. The current quickly launched them down toward the open sea. A year ago, they had crossed Reverse Mountain from the West Blue to reach the Grand Line. This kind of drop was nothing to them. Yeah, goo, everyone cheered excitedly. Sengoku chased after them, but could only watch the Whitebeard pirates sail off into the distance. His body reverted to normal. Fleet Admiral Sengoku, this isn't your fault. Who would have thought they hid their ship here? Should we pursue them? Their next stop must be Fishman Island. They'll need to coat their ship at Sabaody Archipelago. No, let them go. The route to Fishman Island is dangerous. Yes, sir. With the Aqua Lagona's power fading, the Moby Dick sailed quickly across the sea. Tom had added 2 propulsion wheels, allowing them to move even without wind. Big bro, let me heal you, Marco said, using the Phoenix flames to close Roy's wounds. By now, Marco had mastered his powers, he could even regenerate limbs. Roy recovered quickly and was back to being lively. You shouldn't fight anymore, you're not suited for it, Whitebeard said. I'm a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, Roy replied calmly. Whitebeard fell silent, head bowed in thought. Cheer up, you're the captain, and we have a new companion. Let's welcome our new companion. Roy patted Whitebeard's massive leg. Whitebeard's expression softened. He straightened, raising his naginata. Listen up, brats. The crew turned, eyes shining. Welcome our new crewmate, the Moby Dick. Let's celebrate. Yeah, welcome, Moby Dick. Party time. Ha ha ha. AWOOOOOO. 2 comments 0 vote. Chapter 9. Whitebeard's Wrath, Sabaody. Having a banquet was the most joyful thing. Everyone was cheering, but Roy had one rule: no alcohol for minors. In this world, adulthood begins at 17. Most of the crew were still kids, so most of the alcohol naturally ended up with Whitebeard. Newgate, you don't seem happy. Roy noticed Whitebeard sitting alone on his custom-made throne, drinking from a barrel. No, I'm very happy. Hey, you think I can't tell if you're happy or not? Roy sat beside him, holding a glass of wine. He claimed he was older than Whitebeard, and no one questioned it, so he was allowed to drink. You regret bringing them out here, don't you? How'd you know? Just a guess. I feel the same way as you. They're all just a bunch of kids. Today's battle was the hardest we've faced so far. Before, you were always the one taking the brunt of the fight, and we hardly had to act. But when you were held back, we had to face the enemy ourselves. You saw me get hurt, didn't you? That's why you got scared. If that's the case, Newgate, just drop me off at Sabaody. I don't want to be a burden to you. Roy raised his glass and took a sip after speaking. Bullshit. I'd rather die than abandon you. Whitebeard roared in fury. The cheering crew, Marco and the others, suddenly stopped and turned toward Whitebeard. Roy, I forbid you from saying things like that ever again. Don't even bring it up. And if you dare sneak off, I'll break your legs myself. Whitebeard said through gritted teeth. Roy didn't respond. He had indeed been thinking about leaving. Among the pirate crew, he was the weakest. The gap in power would only grow with time. An ordinary person on a pirate ship would only become a burden. To the Whitebeard Pirates, Roy's greatest contribution wasn't in combat, but in logistics and medicine. Marco and the others studied under Roy. He was the one who taught them to read, write, and learn things beyond fighting. Roy didn't realize it, but the entire crew knew it deep down. They couldn't do without him. They willingly called him Big Brother. Without the money Roy had saved, they wouldn't have been able to afford a new ship. Pops, what's Big Bro saying? Marco asked. TCH. He thinks he's a burden and was planning to sneak off, Whitebeard growled. What? No way. Big Bro, are you crazy? We'd never leave you. Was it Blam & Co? Did he piss you off? I'll beat him up right now. Me? Why would I make Big Bro mad? You're lying, Jozu. The place turned into chaos until Whitebeard yelled, everyone listen up. Take turns watching him. Don't let him escape. Yes, Pops. Marco and the others all stared at Roy, who was speechless. As if he could really bear to leave. The new ship made all the difference, and they passed through the Florian Triangle smoothly. Jozu, I'm taking a bath, what are you doing? I'm bathing too. Ever since Whitebeard gave the order, they had been watching Roy constantly, eating together, going to the bathroom together, even bathing together. At night, they locked him up. They were guarding him like a prisoner. Roy was both touched and irritated. These guys. The log pose pointed downward below the red line and stayed fixed in that direction. Next stop, Sabaody, Roy said. I heard Sabaody is a special kind of island, Vista said. I read about it. Sabaody isn't really an island, it's a giant mangrove forest. The roots form islands, and there's even an amusement park. Marco said excitedly. He loved reading. Roy often bought him piles of books, especially medical ones. Even though Marco had healing powers, he still needed medical knowledge. Roy wondered if Marco hadn't been restrained, could his phoenix flames have saved Ace? It was certainly possible, his regenerative powers were that strong. Roy couldn't remember every detail clearly. Sabaody had both lawful and unlawful areas. He had been in this world for 5 years, and even with knowledge of the original story, he couldn't recall everything precisely. He only had a rough idea of what was coming. We need to get the ship coated, Roy said. Coated? The others looked at him, confused. It means covering the ship in a giant bubble. That way, we can dive underwater and head to Fishman Island, Roy explained. A bubble can do that? That's amazing, Whitey Bay said in awe. The Urukiman mangrove secretes a resin that forms bubble-like substances. Using special techniques, these can be used to coat the ship in a protective membrane, strong enough to withstand the ocean's pressure, Roy explained further. Everyone listened in awe, gradually getting excited. So that's how it works. That's incredible. Big Bro, how do you know so much? Vista asked, full of admiration. Read more books. I told you before to read more, but you didn't listen. Roy knocked on Vista's head. Despite being much taller than Roy, Vista laughed happily. I hate reading. That's Marco's thing. Reading will do you good. You've got nothing else to do anyway. Sabaody is right ahead. Newgate, have you been here before? Do you know any reliable coding craftsmen? Roy asked. Going underwater wasn't a joke. They needed a trustworthy craftsman. This wasn't something to gamble on. A faulty coding meant death in the depths. I know one, Whitebeard nodded after thinking for a moment. Good, we must find someone reliable, Roy said. Don't worry, that guy specializes in this, and he'll travel with us to Fishman Island, Whitebeard said. Oh, he'll go with us. Roy's eyes lit up. Of course, you think we'd just easily trust someone and let them leave? Pirates never trust that easily. We always bring the craftsman along, and he finds his own way back from Fishman Island, Whitebeard said. Makes sense. Roy nodded. In that case, pirates didn't need to fear sabotage, unless the craftsmen wanted to die with them. We're here, Whitebeard smiled. The crew rushed to the deck. Ahead lay a breathtaking forest of towering mangroves, their roots forming islands. Countless bubbles floated upward, refracting sunlight into rainbows. So beautiful, Whitey Bay clutched Roy's hand tightly. Whitey Bay, what are you doing? Big bro, don't even think about running. I won't let you go, she growled. As the ship neared land, Whitebeard reminded them that zones 1 through 29 were lawless areas. They were docking at Grove 27. Before they even landed, they heard voices. Let go of me, let me go. Ha ha ha, caught 2 little fish men. Should fetch a good price. Wah, somebody help us. I don't want to be sold as a slave. Please help us. Wah. 1 comments 0 vote. Chapter 10. 2 Little Fish Men, the daily life of the Whitebeard Pirates. A child's desperate sobs echoed across the shore. A shadow passed overhead. There was no need to look to know who it was. Roy pulled out a small notebook. As the ship approached the shore, he reviewed what he had written, a shopping list and a schedule for assigning tasks. These guys were scatterbrained, so Roy had to plan everything, handing out money and duties to each of them. Snap, he closed the notebook as the ship docked smoothly. Whitebeard and the others had already handled the problem, rescuing 2 peculiar figures from human traffickers. We're the Whitebeard Pirates. Do you want to join us? Marco asked the 2, one big and one small. Whitebeard Pirates? Never heard of them. Are they tasty? You're fishmen from Fishman Island, right? We're heading there. Can you guide us? Marco asked. Sure, idiot. No, why not? How do we know they're good people? But they saved us. The fierce-looking fishman fell silent. Roy studied the 2 closely, realizing who they were. Namur, the future 8th Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates, and another fishman who also looked familiar, probably a future subordinate captain, though Roy couldn't recall his name. Marco, Thatch, Blamenco, come here. Roy called, waving his notebook. The 3 hurried over, followed by Whitebeard and the rest of the crew. Namur and Aruan noticed they were no longer being watched. If they wanted to escape, they could simply jump into the sea. But something compelled them to stick around. They were curious what was going on. Is he the real captain? Aruan wondered. Probably not. Look at the pirate flag. That guy over there is Whitebeard, he's the captain, Namur said, pointing to Newgate. But he asked if we wanted to be his sons, Aruan said. Don't trust humans. They're all liars. Okay, big bro. The 2 had run away from Fishman Island out of curiosity. They were orphans living on the streets of the Fishman district. Hearing that some humans wanted to adopt them made them instinctively distrustful. On the other side, Roy was assigning shopping duties. Marco led the medical team to buy supplies, Thatch was in charge of food procurement, and Blamenco, the shipwright, had to get repair materials. Here's your shopping list and some money, Roy said, handing each of them a list and a bag of money. Having managed the Whitebeard Pirates for 5 years, Roy knew the world's prices. Things in Sabaody archipelago were more expensive, so he gave them 20% more than usual. Since they were in Sabaody, supplies would be plentiful. It was a good opportunity to stock up. Just as Roy finished assigning the tasks, dozens of hands suddenly stretched out toward him, large and small. Even Whitebeard was practically sticking his hand in Roy's face. What do you guys want? Roy channeled his inner Nami, smacking each hand away. Hee hee, big bro, money please, Whitey Bay pouted. Sabaody has shopping streets. I'm a girl, I need pretty clothes. Spent it on clothes in St. Poplar. Your outfit was from that, too. You. Sure enough, the ways of women and money were beyond comprehension. Roy had given Whitey Bay money many times. As one of the few girls in the crew and someone he treated like a sister, he tended to spoil her. And you, what do you want? Roy glared at Whitebeard. I'm out of booze, Whitebeard said proudly. You. Roy nearly choked. You drank all the alcohol I bought. Wasn't enough. Whitebeard glanced away. Big bro, I report. A few days ago, Pop stole 8 barrels while you were asleep. Whitey Bay raised her hand. Here, 100,000 berries for you. Roy handed her the cash. Big bro, I want to report Pops, too. When we were on Gourmet Island, he stole a gold coin from you. Jozu added, then sheepishly glanced at Whitebeard. Sorry, Pops. You. Whitebeard looked ready to cough up blood. Jozu, that's for you. Roy glared at Whitebeard and handed Jozu 50,000 berries. Soon, everyone got their share, around 20,000 berries each, which was enough to buy plenty of things. You two come here. Namur and Aruan exchanged glances but approached. Here, take this and buy whatever you like. Roy gave each of them 50,000 berries. Seeing them receive that amount, everyone else's eyes instantly turned red with jealousy. As Roy turned to leave, a bunch of people swarmed the two fishmen with sudden hospitality. Brother Namur, I saved you earlier. Thatch slung an arm around him. Brother Aruan, such a handsome young man, let me show you around. Epoida grabbed his hand. Don't listen to them, I was the one who fought for you. Vista cut in. Whitey Bay, Jozu, you too, ahem. Whitebeard stood before them with his naginata in hand. P-Pops, X2. When the two of them saw Whitebeard's posture, tears fell. Betraying your crewmates hurts their feelings. Pops, here's 50,000 berries. Whitey Bay surrendered half her money. Pops, 25,000 berries. Jozu followed suit. Garararara, that's my children, so obedient, Pops didn't spoil you for nothing. And you two little brats, starting today, you're my sons too. As your father, I'll help manage your finances and safeguard your money. With that, Whitebeard snatched the money from their hands despite their protests. The two fishmen's eyes widened. We haven't agreed yet. Namur had just started to speak when he saw that everyone else had already run off, leaving just the two of them. Four fishy eyes met in confusion. All right, let's get going, don't wander off alone, Whitebeard said cheerfully as he headed into the island. Of course, Roy knew what was going on. Whitebeard had been waiting for him. After docking, aside from Vista and a few who stayed behind on the ship, Roy brought the two little fishmen along and followed Whitebeard into town. I remember he's usually at the casino, Whitebeard said. Let's find the guy who does the ship coding. With our ship, it'll probably take about a week, Roy replied. Sounds about right. The two fishmen trailed behind, still bewildered by their sudden adoption.